Hello YouTubers and welcome to Novus Talks with me, your host Novus Corvus. This video, I don't have anything to talk about in particular. I just wanted to offer up my thoughts on the Transformers videos I've just done. I spent so much time and effort going into them, and I felt like I wanted to take a video to sort of reflect and give back my thoughts and feelings with everything I put into those videos. For anyone that's not a Transformers fan that is watching this, I apologize for the amount of Transformers videos you've seen lately on this channel. I promise this is not becoming an entirely Transformers channel. I just had to get those videos out the way, and this one offering my thoughts. And I have one other video on one of the shows, but that I'll leave that off for another few weeks to a month or so, just to give you guys a break. But anyways, I just wanted to talk about all that's happened in the last few months with the Transformers movie, because this whole fiasco with me doing Transformers Con on this channel went back to when I did the video on the concept art for Operation Skyfire. Because I discovered that with Aaron09345 on Instagram by complete accident actually. I don't even remember the context behind it, but we both discovered all of that, and we discovered all the stuff I mentioned in the Transformers 6 videos. And it completely blew our minds, and we had no idea how to gather our thoughts. And then I did that video because I felt like it gave an insight into a movie we would never get, and it got a pretty good reaction, I think. But in that, and I believe in like one other video I did, I promised that I would do a Transformers 6 video. Because since we had the concept art about the Quintessons and Unicron's hand, I was like, okay, there's material here. And then, of course, after the Operation Skyfire video, there was more World War II concept art that we saw that I didn't put in that video. And rather than do a second video, I just featured it in the Transformers 6 videos. But anyways, yeah, it was like May, June, probably in June, I'd say, that all this research started happening. I was staying up to like 5 in the morning a few nights in a row trying to find quotes from old interviews from like 2014, 2015 about the future of the movies and stuff, because I was really invested in this. I grew up with the Transformers movies. You know, you've probably heard me say the story multiple times, but the first movie, I watched it when I was 6, and it completely blew my mind away, and it got me invested in the franchise. It also made me want to become an actor and a filmmaker, because I have the special features version of it. So I got to see the whole process, and that was an incredible experience to me, one like no other, and that's dictated what I want to do with my life ever since. As I said before, I don't really have any special relationships with the two sequels here, other than I saw them in the cinemas, but Age of Extinction I was excited for. I did a few searches here and there when I was like really young to see if there was any information in it, but never anything to the scale of The Last Night. But when that movie came out, it was and is to this day still my favorite movie, and the ending got me hyped for The Last Night and for the cinematic universe, and the rest is history. 2007 to 2018, really, Transformers has dominated my life. I mean, specifically more so from 2014 to 2018 because of the hype for these two movies, but it dominated my life for those years, and it was something that I was really invested in. Really wanted to see, you know, where it was going to go next. Now that they seemed like they were taking the story seriously, I was so invested to see what would happen next. I remember at the time thinking that 10 movies per year was a bit ridiculous, but I got excited for it, but unfortunately we all know what happened there. Last Night failed, and then Bumblebee seemed like it was going to be the final Transformers. But yeah, there was no real hype for the Bumblebee movie. Most of us were going in to watch it simply because we believed it would be the last Transformers movie we were ever going to see in the big screen, since The Last Night failed. Not that bad, but bad compared to the previous movies. And you know, most people liked it. You all know my opinion on this stage. I loved it when I first saw it, but the whole debate around it completely ruined the movie for it. So I do consider The Last Night and Bumblebee the weakest ones out of all of them, but that's not the argument here. The argument here is that, like, even though Bumblebee is a prequel to the other movies, we know that if they do a sequel to it, it's going to go in another direction. Inevitably, it's going to become so broken that you might as well consider it a reboot anyway. But the point is, these 6 movies are from my where my childhood sort of began and ended. Not really, but you know. And it's something special to me. I remember I did get upset and cried when the writer's room was disbanded and all the movies were cancelled, but looking back on it now, I have so much fondness and so much love and memories with all of these movies that it is depressing that there's never going to be an end, or that it's being rebooted without any conclusion to any of this, really. So when I was doing those Transformers 6 videos, it was almost like it was giving myself a conclusion in a way as well. Because I knew doing them, I realized very quickly that I was like 2 or 3 years too late with those videos. Very few people were going to be watching them because no one would be interested anymore. Everyone was focused on what's going to come next. So I realized that, you know, very few people are going to watch these, and so I'm more so doing it for my own sake more than others. And so I really wanted to gather as much information as possible to depict what the next, what 6 and 7 and 8 were going to be about, so that for myself I would know what the ending would, what the conclusion would have been. Even if we didn't get it in physical form, just knowing what it was helps close off that chapter of my childhood, basically. And that's what made those enjoyable to make. I mean, they were exhausting from the point of view that they took so long to do, and I had to do so much research. After doing the last one, I realized, after I got really lucky finding that rumor on 4chan, now we have a clearer idea of what was supposed to happen. They are going to use ideas from the writer's room for the next 2 movies, we know that, but even still, this timeline is more or less done, and it's a shame it never got a conclusion. But as I said, I just wanted to put my thoughts and stuff out there on it. I grew up with these movies, they're incredibly special to me. I still get excited watching them even to this day, and I will forever cherish them and hold a special place in my heart because of what they mean to me. The last night, the hype leading up to that movie was from me being age 13 all the way up to 16, which was a pretty difficult time for me because I was struggling with depression a lot during time and suicidal thoughts, and so ironically that became sort of escape for me during that time, you know, discussing the latest rumors and what we all thought was going to happen. Watching the Raging Nations Road to TF5, you know, that series was amazing. And then it came out and ironically it made us all depressed anyway, but you know, having that experience that I don't think I'm ever going to get with anything ever again, it does get me emotional and nostalgic. A lot of times I think about it because I don't think I will ever have the ability to get excited for a movie the way I got excited for this ever again, because I was just so exhausted after it all. And it's depressing because it means I'll never get that experience again, but at least I won't have to go through that level of disappointment at the same time. And I know I'm specifically talking about the last night, but you know, this experience will never be the same going ahead, for better or worse. Like, we know the Transformers movies are going to be in a different direction. They're going to be more G1-esque, which sucks. So the creativity and the room for potential to be creative and expand into new stories never done before is going to be non-existent. These movies are going to be completely different, and they're not going to have the same scale, the same hype and excitement and anticipation that any of the previous 6 films did. And that's the biggest tragedy of it all. For better or worse, yes, the movies are changing, and yes, the quality is going to improve, but the build up to it, the discussion to it, it's never going to be the same. Most of you are probably not bothered by that. Most of you are probably happy with that, in fact, but for people like myself who grew up with these movies and who cherish them forever, it does bring a tear to the eye in times, because we didn't get a proper conclusion to it, but at the same time, what we think of as Transformers in relation to movies is not going to be true anymore. The movies are not going to be what we expect or what we've come to love about them. It's not saying they're not going to be good, but it won't be the same. It won't have the same, as I said, the same feeling of awe and wonder and inspiration that the rest of them had. And that's why when I did the last Transformers 6 video, I was a bit nostalgic after it all. I was a bit upset that, you know, I gathered all this information together, but in the end, it doesn't change anything. It doesn't change the fact that these movies are going to be treated like they never existed. That's the horrible truth in all this. 10 years from now, when we have 5 movies that follow in the direction of Bumblebee, who's going to remember the first 5 movies? Or even the first 4 movies? You know, people are only going to remember these movies, and these are going to be completed like trash that never existed. And people are just going to forget that this is what saved Transformers. The franchise would be dead, and Peter Cullen would not be Optimus Prime if it wasn't for the 2007 movie and all the sequels that followed. So, regardless of the varying levels of quality, these movies have become, for me, they've stood for what Transformers is trying to be about in terms of inspiration and, you know, getting excited and discussing all the possibilities and ideas and speculating and all of that. And truth be told, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to let that go. I don't know if I will be able to ever fully move on from this and just be like, okay, that was in the past. Because of the fact that the first movie inspired me to want to become an actor and a film director. And because of the fact that The Last Night helped me through 3 difficult years of my life, you know? I won't be able to let that go. And I'm sure there's plenty of you who won't be able to either. And so, you know, we're the ones that are left behind in all of this. And that's the really crushing part of it all, anyway. But it's upsetting that, like, we've seen so many cool ideas and concepts that were going to be explored, and yet they're never going to explore those ideas anymore. We're not going to see Transformers 6 or 7 or whatever, you know, it's all basically in the bin at this point, even though they'll keep it on record, obviously, but, you know, it's going in a direction, and for the first time ever, I'm not that excited for a Transformers movie. The June 2022 movie, you know, I didn't give a shit about Bumblebee's ending, to be honest. I was just like, okay, whatever, it's a prequel. But, you know, knowing that the next movie, if it's the Bumblebee sequel, it's going to mess with the timeline even further, because they're going to try and make it a reboot, and having connected to this movie is just going to screw things up further. And if it's a Beast Wars movie, it's going to be absolutely terrible, but at least it'll be a different continuity, so it's a lose-lose scenario either way I'm concerned. So for me, the Transformers movies died with The Last Night in a way. And yeah, this is, for the rest of my life, this will be what I think of when I think of Transformers movies. This is what started it all, and this is what it means. This is where all the anticipation came from. I don't have anything else to add on to it. I didn't plan this out. I just wanted to throw some of my thoughts on it. And without getting, I guess, too emotional into it or whatever, this is sort of me. This video isn't even really for anyone in particular. This is just sort of to myself, in a way, to realize and come to terms with the fact that the childhood story I've grown up with is gone at this point, and this is the new direction we're going in, and who knows what's going to happen next. But yeah, that's it. Thank you all for watching, and please subscribe. Novus Corvus out.